Flume was once part of an adventure group she trusted with her life. The people she believed were her closest friends. But when her weakness became a burden, they didn't protect her. They told her to roll over and die. Abandoned, betrayed, sold to a slave trader like she was nothing. At the lowest point of her life, when all hope was gone, something inside her awakened. A hidden, cursed power. The girl they threw away, the girl they told to die, was no longer weak. This is a story of Flume, and the curse that changed her fate forever. The anime opens inside an ominous, dungeon-like facility crawling with centipedes and insects. The kind of place modern people refuse to spend even a single night in, not even for $1 million and a written apology. This dungeon functions as a slave prison. Everyone trapped inside is starving, hallucinating, and enduring what is easily the worst day of their lives, with no hope of survival. The prisoners lack even the energy to speak, and their bones bulge grotesquely through their skin from severe malnutrition. The main character, Flume Apricot, awakens and immediately realizes she has landed in what can only be described as hell with worse interior design. As she scans her surroundings, her gaze locks onto a young girl sitting alone in the corner, completely isolated and strangely unbothered. The girl's eyes are striking, beautiful enough to look as though they were traded for gemstones. Yet they are hollow, empty, and utterly devoid of life. Unlike the other prisoners, she does not beg, cry, or plead to be saved. She simply sits there, not because she is brave, but because she has never known a good day in her life. She has never been close enough to freedom to desire it, nor has she ever understood the concept of hope. Ironically, this ignorance becomes a perfect coping mechanism, keeping her calm even in the grimmest circumstances, though only because she cannot imagine anything better than this existence. Flume, meanwhile, struggles to process her situation. Before she can even gather her thoughts, a grotesquely fat man covered in rings appears outside the cell. With a smug grin and a voice dripping with contempt, he announces that everyone present is a slave, and a worthless one at that. According to him, even slaves must meet a minimum standard to be valuable, and these prisoners fail spectacularly. He declares their worthlessness a personal offense, complaining that he wasted good money buying and feeding them despite receiving nothing in return. While one might assume this would be the point where he cuts his losses and releases them, kindness clearly never appears on his character sheet. Instead, he unleashes a horde of monsters into dungeon, eager to entertain himself by watching useless lives die in agony. As death closes in, Flume's mind floods with memories. She recalls being chosen by the Origin to fight demons and join a prestigious group from her village. That pride quickly collapses into bitterness as she remembers becoming the weakest member, more burdened than help. She relives the painful moment her childhood friend, Cyril, abandons her after growing strong, leaving her behind without a second glance. To make matters worse, one of her former comrades is the very person who sold her to the slave owner, now watching her die for amusement. Back in the present, chaos erupts. Some prisoners attempt to flee the ghouls and fail miserably. One desperate man grabs a sword from the cell, only to discover it is cursed. The blade promptly vaporizes his frail body down to the bone, proving that optimism remains a dangerous hobby in this dungeon. Soon, only Flume and the silent girl in the corner remain alive. Each passing second stretches into an eternity as Flume faces her inevitable death. She realizes she has only one choice left, not whether she will die, but how. She can allow the ghouls to tear her apart, or she can take the cursed sword and go down fighting. Summoning every last ounce of strength, she chooses the sword. This decision changes everything. Instead of being destroyed, her wounds heal instantly the moment she touches the blade. Rather than being crushed by its weight, her body feels lighter and faster. Hope surges through her veins before her mind can even process what is happening. Acting purely on instinct, Flume cuts down the 3 feeble ghouls in front of her with ease. Her next target is the slave owner himself, less a man and more an overgrown pig in jewelry. He desperately begs for his life, but Flume's rage drowns out any possibility of mercy. She drives the cursed blade straight through him, granting him a death far quicker than he deserves. With the dungeon cleared, Flume grabs the only surviving girl and escapes. Along the way, they are harassed by men with oversized muscles and severely underdeveloped brains, but Flume has more important concerns than background NPCs with bad dialogue. They take refuge in a narrow alley, where Flume finally begins to piece everything together. She realizes the truth about her ability. Affinity, the very power that kept her weak all this time, reverses positives into negatives and negatives into positives. In other words, cursed weapons empower her instead of destroying her. The same ability that once crippled her potential now explains everything. With this revelation, Flume heads straight to the town's licensing department to obtain a hero permit. The receptionist immediately eyes Flume and her companion with thinly veiled skepticism. She doubts someone so scrawny could survive monster hunting and casually suggests an alternative career path instead, one involving a brothel. In not so subtle terms, She implies Flume will be better suited for spreading her legs than spilling monster blood. Flume, unimpressed and unwavering, insists on the job. At that moment, an A-rank hunter named Dine steps in. With sharp wit and smooth persuasion, he convinces a receptionist to give Flume a chance and personally hands her a mission. Grateful for the kindness, Flume wastes no time setting out. Unfortunately for her, the mission is far from simple, and Dine is far more dangerous and mysterious than he lets on. The next episode opens with Flume desperately scrubbing at the fresh mark on her face, the one left behind by a former party member. No matter how hard she rubs, the stain refuses to fade. As exhaustion sets in, her thoughts drift back to the day Gene sold her into slavery. He had not even cared about being paid. All that mattered to him was never having to see her face again. With those cold words, he had handed her over to a slave trader without a second thought. Memories she wishes she could bury resurface. The cruelty of the trader, the humiliation and the pain that followed. Eventually, Flume stops trying to erase the mark altogether. She collapses onto the ground, staring blankly at the sky. It is then that Milkett appears, seemingly out of nowhere, and strikes up a conversation. She hesitantly asks whether her own appearance bothers Flume. True to her gentle nature, Flume assures her that there is nothing wrong with how Milkett looks. Milkett, however, cannot comprehend the idea that someone like her was saved at all. She admits that she believes she was never worth saving, and asks Flume why she chose to help her in the first place. Flume confesses that she does not fully understand her own reasons. After some thought, she admits it might be tied to her ego, having been abandoned by her former party and declared utterly useless. Saving someone else who had been cast aside by the world may have offered her a sense of closure. Milkett admits that Flume's explanation makes little sense to her. Flume, in turn, acknowledges that she does not understand her own emotions either. Back at the guild, a man casually asks if anyone is willing to bet on Flume and Milkett returning alive from their mission. No one accepts. To everyone present, the two women are already dead. Although the job is labeled as F rank, the monster they are meant to face is clearly D rank or higher. Elsewhere in the guild, Dine reunites with an old acquaintance. Their conversation turns to a recent incident. A black market slave trader has been found dead in the center of town. What truly unsettles them is not the murder itself, but the fact that the investigation is being handled by the church's knights rather than the royal army. The situation reeks of corruption. Dine immediately suspects a connection to the illegal black medicine trade. A sly smile spreads across his face as he realizes exactly how he can turn the chaos to his advantage. Meanwhile, Flume and Milkett arrive at their target location. Their relief vanishes the moment they discover the monster's level, 512. Flume instantly understands the implications. The guild had deliberately set them up, assigning a job far beyond their rank in hopes of getting them killed. What the guild failed to account for, however, was Flume herself. With a stat level nearing 1,000, she is far stronger than they assumed. That realization brings little comfort when Flume senses something else. There is more than one werewolf. She recalls her mentor's teachings. Werewolves hunt in packs, and encountering one always means others are nearby. Her fears deepen when a fifth werewolf suddenly begins behaving erratically. The creature grows violently aggressive, performing the unthinkable, merging its body with the others. Its power surges, its stats skyrocketing to nearly 2,000. The transformed werewolf immediately locks onto Flume's position and unleashes a devastating attack. The tree she'd been hiding behind is obliterated in an instant, leaving no doubt about the threat she faces. Acting on instinct, Flume draws her sword and braces herself, holding the monster at bay long enough to order Milkett to escape. The werewolf attacks relentlessly. Flume dodges several strikes with ease, and even manages to block one head-on. The exchange gives her confidence. She can fight this thing. As the battle continues, she notices a pattern in the creature's movements. Seizing the opportunity, she counters its attack and charges forward, slicing it cleanly in half and landing behind it. Even bisected, the monster refuses to fall. It twists its body unnaturally and lashes out, managing to slash Flume's arm. The wound burns with agonizing pain, infused with strange and hostile magic. Flume channels her healing ability through her sword, restoring herself almost instantly. Watching her arm regenerate, she briefly wonders whether she herself has become something monstrous. Refusing to hesitate, she attacks again, this time splitting the werewolf vertically, confident that the fight is finally over. Believing the battle won, Flume moves to collect the creature's head as proof for the guild. To her horror, the severed head suddenly comes alive and bites down on her arm. She staggers back, fighting to steady herself. Despite her powerful healing magic, the wound will not regenerate. The creature's saliva carries a twisted magic that repeatedly racks her arm with unbearable pain. Gritting her teeth, Flume makes a brutal decision. With only a moment of hesitation, she severs her own arm. The pain is excruciating, but only for a moment. Her healing magic restores a limb. Within seconds, For an instant, Flume considers running, but doing so would mean remaining the same powerless person she has always been. Instead, she steps forward once more, faces a monster head-on, and resolves to end the battle. This time, she destroys it for good. Meanwhile, Milkit flees deep into the forest, where isolation leaves her alone with her thoughts. As she hides among the trees, memories of her past resurface. She has always been a slave, and the cruel words of her former owners echo relentlessly in her mind, being told she was worthless, that slaves were not human, and that killing her would not even count as murder. Even though her life had been an immediate danger moment ago, those words dominate her thoughts. She has lived so long, without valuing her own existence, that fear no longer registers the way it should. Her spiraling thoughts are abruptly interrupted when Flume appears, completely unharmed by the battle with the werewolf. Milkit is stunned and deeply relieved. Flume is the first master she has ever known who shows no sign of cruelty. Kindness is something Milkit is utterly unaccustomed to, and because of that, she believes she does not deserve it. In her eyes, she is unworthy of Flume. Summoning her courage, Milkit removes the bandage she always wears and reveals a scarred face beneath it. She calls herself ugly and insists that Flume should sell her to someone else, claiming she is useless and only a burden. Flume refuses to see her that way. Without hesitation, she pulls Milkit into a firm embrace and tells her that scars are no reason to abandon someone. For the first time in her life, Milkit experiences genuine affection, something freely given without conditions. In that moment, she realizes she wants to stay with Flume. Neither of them truly understands what happiness feels like, but they agree to search for it together until they can finally grasp it. Elsewhere, the party that betrayed Flume finds themselves struggling. With Flume gone, they quickly realize that she'd been the only one capable of cooking edible meals. Now forced to prepare food themselves, they can barely bring themselves to swallow what they make. After defeating the werewolves, Flume and Milkit return to the Adventurers Guild to collect their reward. When nearby adventurers overhear that the payment is for a werewolf kill, they openly mock Flume. In their eyes, a slave could never defeat such a monster. Flume responds by calmly drawing her cursed sword and knocking one of the men off his chair, asserting her authority without a word. The receptionist verifies the kills and hands over the reward, leaving the entire guild hall in stunned silence. The two then head to a small inn, where the owner treats them with unexpected warmth and dignity. For the first time in a long while, Flume feels safe. Being treated like a human being, rather than a tool or an outcast, is exactly what she needed. That night, she feels genuinely hopeful about the future. She suggests that she and Milkit go shopping the next day. Milkit hesitates, insisting that there is no point in buying clothes for a slave. Flume counters firmly, declaring that as Milkit's master, she orders her to come along. The words are spoken lightly, but they mark the beginning of something far more meaningful, a bond between two girls. One had never possessed anything in her life, while the other had lost everything she once had. Yet, beyond the distant trees, danger still lingers. Deep within the forest, the werewolf Flume believes she had slain stirs, barely alive. With hatred burning in its eyes, it utters a chilling vow: "You will pay." The third episode opens with Milkit undergoing a complete makeover. She is getting a new haircut, a new dress, and an overall transformation that drastically changes not only her appearance, but also how she feels about herself. Flume, too, is wearing new clothes. After all, slaying a werewolf is no small feat, and the rewards they earn are finally allowing them to live a little more comfortably. Despite the fresh look, Milkit is unable to fully accept Flume's kindness. Having spent her entire life as a slave, she does not know how to respond to such generosity. In her mind, all she can think about is how wasteful it is to spend so much money on her. She believes she could have served Flume just as well in the cheapest clothes available. Instead, Flume has gone out of her way to buy her expensive garments and make her look presentable. Noticing Milkit's discomfort, Flume places a hand on her shoulder and gently reminds her that Milkit matters to her. She explains that Milkit's happiness is directly tied to her own. Reassured, the two continue shopping, purchasing several more items before eventually heading down a stairway. Their calm moment is abruptly interrupted when a man deliberately bumps into them. It is clear that he does so intentionally, using the encounter as an excuse to harass two slaves. The mark on Flume's face openly identifies her as a slave, despite the fact that she killed her former master and escaped. Moments later, the man who shoved her is robbed by two of Dine's men. Flume notices what happens but feels no immediate urge to intervene. However, when the thieves target another victim, Flume is compelled to act, activating her cursed armor, which grants her incredible agility. She quickly gives chase. The two thieves split up, fleeing in opposite directions, and briefly leaving Flume uncertain about whom to pursue. Her hesitation is short-lived when another girl joins the chase, pursuing one of the thieves and calling out to Flume to take the other. Flume follows her lead and quickly catches her target. Desperate, the man attempts to fight back by casting a fire spell, but Flume neutralizes it with ease. She closes the distance in an instant and snaps his arm, effectively ending the threat. Soon after, the girl Flume encountered earlier appears before her again, greeting her calmly after successfully capturing her own target. She reveals herself to be a nun from the Church of Origin, and it becomes immediately apparent that her abilities are extraordinary, with her stats far surpassing those of an ordinary individual. Together, they reunite with the victim of the robbery, who is revealed to be Leech Cathy, the wealthy owner of a large and prosperous shop. His status and obvious affluence immediately catch Flume off guard, leaving her surprised to find herself standing in the presence of someone so important. Sarah introduces herself to Leech as well, and calmly suggests that the robbers have likely learned their lesson. In her view, it may now be safe to release them. As she speaks, Sarah reflects on her own past, recalling the severe punishments she once received for disobedience. She quietly wonders how those experiences shaped her unwavering ability to follow rules without hesitation. Flume, observing her, cannot help but be astonished by the nun's innocence. Despite possessing overwhelming power, Sarah remains remarkably naive. Flume explains to her that in the real world, criminals like these cannot simply be beaten and released, as a single punishment rarely breaks such habits. Instead, they must be restrained to prevent further harm. After learning that Sarah is a nun and that Flume is an adventurer, Leech asks to speak with Flume privately, away from Sarah's ears. He confides in her that he has a job offered specifically for her skills as an adventurer. While Flume finds him polite and likable, she cannot shake the feeling that something is amiss. If the job is legitimate, she wonders, why is he not posting it through the official channels of the Adventurers Guild? Despite her instincts warning her otherwise, Flume chooses to hear him out. Leech appears sincere, and his desperation feels genuine. He explains that his wife is gravely ill and that the only way to cure her is through herbal medicine. However, the church has banned the use of herbs for healing, claiming that such practices border on heresy and interfere with divine healing. In truth, the ban exists to allow the church to monopolize the healing industry. Flume admits that the offer is tempting. Taking the job directly would mean she would not have to surrender a portion of her earnings to the guild. Still, the risk is enormous. If they are caught, they would be forced to face the church itself, the most powerful organization in the city. Leech's secrecy also explains why he was unwilling to discuss the matter in front of Sarah, who is a nun of that very church. Before the conversation can continue, Sarah unexpectedly approaches him and remarks that Leech has a peculiar expression on his face. She comments that it is the look of someone searching for herbs, and she can tell. Leech freezes for a moment, but Sarah quickly puts him at ease by saying that she personally believes the use of herbal medicine is acceptable. She explains that, as a nun, her foremost duty is to help those in need, regardless of doctrine. Moved by her words, both Flume and Sarah agree to accept the job, deciding that the greater good outweighs the risks involved. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the city, Dine receives word that 2 of his men have been captured thanks to Flume's interference. Angered by the setback, he summons 2 of his remaining subordinates, already plotting a scheme to return the favor. That night, Flume goes to bed with a heavy heart. The pain of losing her closest companions is still raw, and memories of the past continue to haunt her. As she lies awake, she recalls the many times her former party mistreated her, including the moment when her wounds were left unhealed because Jean had judged her unworthy of spending mana on. She also remembers how formidable that team had been, both in knowledge and in power. Each memory resurfaces with sharp sting, reminding her of what she lost and how deeply it hurt. The following day, Flume, Sarah, and Milkit set out on their journey in search of the Chialry flower, the key ingredient needed to create the herbal medicine that could cure Leech's wife. Milkit prepares a large number of sandwiches for the group, and everyone praises their taste as they travel. Along the way, Flume learns more about Sarah's past. She discovers that Sarah was taken in by the church at the age of 2, after her village was completely destroyed by demons. It is clear that Sarah harbors a deep hatred toward demons and possesses an unshakable resolve to eradicate them. Flume also learns that Sarah's mentor, Lady Maria, suffered the same fate. This revelation stirs another painful memory, as Flume recalls that one of her former party members had also lost her village to demons and shared that same hatred. Elsewhere, the hero's party finds itself struggling against a demon they encounter. The creature toys with them effortlessly, and the only reason they survive is because the Demon King has temporarily forbidden the spilling of human blood. Jean grows increasingly agitated when one of his teammates fails to perform properly, burdened by guilt over abandoning Flume. In his frustration, Jean blames their weakness on the humiliation they suffer and condemns their magic as inadequate. Meanwhile, Flume, Sarah, and Milkit arrive at the village near their destination, where the Chialry flower is said to grow. An elderly woman welcomes them warmly, offering her hospitality, and even preparing beds for them to sleep in. Overcome by excitement at the sight of such comfortable accommodations, their childish sides emerge, and the 3 of them jump onto the bed like carefree children. They rest deeply that night, regaining their strength for the task ahead. The next morning, the old woman warns them that a dangerous monster lurks in the direction they plan to travel. Many have attempted to retrieve the herbal flower, yet none have ever returned. Despite the warning, Flume and Sarah decide to proceed, leaving Milka behind since she lacks combat experience. Soon after entering the area, they encounter a powerful ogre with an exceptionally high level. Fortunately, it does not notice their presence, allowing them to execute a successful stealth kill. Pressing deeper into the dungeon in search of the Kialari flower, disaster strikes when a sudden explosion seals off the cave's exit. Flume and Sarah immediately identify the culprits as two men working under Dine. Flume deduces that Dine is seeking revenge, but she realizes they now face a far greater threat. Another ogre emerges, far more terrifying than the first. Where its face should be, there's only a spiraling vortex. They attempt to remain hidden, but the ogre quickly senses their presence and launches a brutal attack, severing Flume's leg. Sarah desperately tries to heal her, but Flume's curse reversal causes the magic to backfire, worsening the injury. Acting swiftly, Sarah grabs Flume and puts distance between them and the monster. Flume then heals herself using the power of reversal and her cursed sword. Despite their efforts, the two are overwhelmingly outmatched and are forced to flee. Their escape leads them to a massive, bottomless chasm with no visible end. Realizing there is no other way to survive, Flume concludes that jumping is their only option. Sarah hesitates, fear gripping her, but Flume takes her hand and leaps into the darkness regardless. The fourth episode opens with Flume and Sarah continuing their descent into the void they had leapt into earlier. After falling for what feels like an endless stretch of time, they finally land in a place swallowed by darkness, where not even the faintest trace of sunlight can reach. Surrounded by silence and shadows, the two cautiously move from room to room, searching desperately for a way out. Their exploration eventually leads them to what appears to be an abandoned research facility. Flume struggles to keep her composure as the weight of the situation bears down on her. Although she tries to remain calm for Sarah's sake, the oppressive atmosphere is clearly overwhelming. In a moment of carelessness, she drops her torch into a deep, lightless pit. As it falls, the brief glow reveals a horrifying sight. Countless dead bodies pile below. The discovery nearly shatters her resolve, but she forces herself to stay steady. Acting quickly, she guides the innocent Sarah away from the pit before the child can glimpse the gruesome scene. As they press on, Flume notices an ominous spiral engraved into ground. The symbol immediately unsettles her, as it mirrors the spiral carved into the ogre's face they had only just escaped from. The realization that these events might be connected begins to take shape, yet there are still too many missing pieces to form a complete picture. Questions pile up in Flume's mind, each more troubling than the last. Their unease deepens when Sarah reveals a book she has found nearby. Flume opens it and reads aloud a passage filled with disturbing thoughts. The text speaks of an experiment spiraling out of control, doubts about fragile links, and a bitter rejection of divine will and national duty. It fixates on a desire to connect, to be linked at any cost, claiming that true wisdom and true peace can only be achieved through judgment, perhaps even control. Yet it is not the unsettling philosophy that shakes Flume the most. What truly strikes at the core is a single detail hidden within the book. Her name, Flume Apricot, is written there. The implication is chilling, as if the experiments described were never random at all, but somehow meant to reach her specifically. As this grim realization begins to sink in, Sarah is the first to notice a faint cry for help echoing through the darkness. Flume barely registers a sound, her thoughts consumed by doubt and fear, but Sarah, despite the suffocating, ominous atmosphere that seems designed to crush one's survival instincts, manages to stay alert. Trusting Sarah's instincts, the two decide to follow the voice. Their path leads them into a room starkly different from the rest, bright and white, almost sterile. Yet, despite the sudden clarity, the sense of unease never leaves them. In the corner of the room, they spot a girl sitting alone with her head bowed. Believing she may be in danger, Flume and Sarah cautiously approach her, intent only on helping. When they try to rouse her, the girl suddenly lifts her head, revealing a face that is not human at all, but a grotesque spiral, identical to that of the ogre they had fled from earlier, before either of them can react. The creature seizes Flume's hand and drags it into the spiraling vortex of its face. As if the situation were not dire enough, the ogre that had been pursuing them emerges once more. With Flume's arm trapped and escape seemingly impossible, her death appears imminent. Acting without hesitation, Sarah uses her healing magic in a desperate and painful gamble, severing Flume's arm to free her. The timing proves just right. The ogre's attack strikes the spiral-faced creature instead of Flume, seizing their chance. The two girls flee and race back to the dark laboratory, where they had previously discovered the book. There, they find another pit. Without hesitation, Flume recreates the same dreadful deja vu for both of them by leaping into it once again. They land amid a mass of corpses, the stench of death surrounding them. Sarah, horrified, questions how a pile of dead bodies could possibly help them escape. fearing they have cornered themselves. Flume, however, has a different plan. She explains that she is searching for cursed equipment among the corpses. Anything that might raise her stats enough to confront the ogre head-on. As they speak, the monster appears yet again, more violent and relentless than before. This time, fortune favors them. They uncover a cursed item suited for Flume's reversal, a pair of cursed boots. Under normal circumstances, the boots would reduce one's stats by over 2,000 points and freeze the wearer's body. For Flume, however, the effect is completely inverted. Sarah's expression lights up like that of a devout nun witnessing a miracle. But Flume quickly warns her not to celebrate prematurely. Empowered, Flume launches a flurry of slashes, yet the ogre refuses to fall. Instead, it encases itself in crystalline armor, rendering her attacks ineffective. In that moment, Flume recalls a powerful technique taught to her long ago by her mentor, Cavalier Arts. The technique converts all the user's stamina into a potent magical force known as prana, at the cost of requiring a long charge time. Understanding the risk, Sarah takes upon herself to buy Flume the time she needs, standing her ground despite the danger. Once the charge is complete, Flume unleashes the attack, striking the ogre and bringing it crashing down. For a brief moment, it seems the nightmare is over. Then the ogre begins to rise once more. Realizing she failed to execute the technique perfectly, Flume gathers every last ounce of strength she has left. She launches the attack a second time, this time without hesitation or error, and finally slays the beast for good. After the beast is finally slain, a female demon emerges in the shadows and calmly retrieves the ogre's remaining core. She reflects aloud on how profoundly cruel humans must be to have created something so grotesque, so overflowing with hatred. Turning her attention to Flume, she addresses her familiarly as Flumey. Rather than threatening or killing her, the demon unexpectedly transports Flume to a beautiful garden, intending only to speak with her. When Flume regains consciousness, she instinctively analyzes the demon's stats and is stunned to see that they exceed 30,000, higher than anything she has ever encountered. Alarmed, Sarah rushes forward and attempts to strike the demon, but her attack is effortlessly nullified as the demon traps her inside a floating bubble, rendering her completely harmless. A tense conversation follows, centered on the long-standing conflict between demons and humans. The demon explains her kind no longer kills humans and swears that such actions have ceased. Sarah vehemently rejects this claim, insisting that demons slaughtered her entire village. In response, the demon calmly asks whether Sarah truly witnessed a massacre herself, or whether her beliefs were shaped by the church's propaganda, which harbors deep hatred toward demons. Faced with the question, Sarah finds herself unable to argue back. The demon then reveals that the horrific experiments they encountered were being conducted under the authority of the church itself. Flume struggles to accept such an accusation, but Sarah supports the claim, recalling the symbols she had seen etched into the walls, marks that clearly indicated the church's jurisdiction over the facility. It also becomes evident that the church had no intention of allowing the torture test subjects to ever become public knowledge. Realizing her mistake, Sarah apologizes for her hostility, and the tension between them eases. In time, they reach an understanding and form an unlikely alliance with the demon. Together, they locate the Chivalry Flower and finally begin their journey back home. Yet despite their escape, many questions remain unanswered, especially the mystery surrounding Flume's involvement in everything that has transpired. Why was her name written in the records, and what role does she truly play in all of this? The 5th episode opens with Flume and Sarah returning to their temporary home after a long, exhausting day. They expect the usual warm welcome from Milkit and Stud, but the moment they open the door, they are struck by an unsettling silence. The house is shrouded in pitch darkness, and the absence of any greeting immediately fills them with dread. The last thing they had anticipated. As they cautiously move inside, they notice disturbing traces of blood scattered across the house. This grim discovery confirms their worst fears. The home has clearly been attacked by burglars. Their anxiety escalates when they soon come across Stud and her grandmother, lying motionless on the floor, both appearing lifeless at first glance. Flume is overwhelmed with fury at the sight, her emotions spiraling as she desperately searches for the last person she left behind. Milkit, after a frantic search, she finds her in the bedroom just in time to see a man about to slit her throat. The sheer horror of the scene ignites an uncontrollable rage within Flume. Without hesitation, she draws her cursed sword and lunges at the attacker. With chilling precision, she slices him cleanly in half, ending his threat instantly. However, another intruder is still present. Terrified after witnessing his partner's brutal end, he attempts to escape through a window. Unfortunately for him, Flume catches up almost immediately, pinning him down just outside before he can flee. Just as she prepares to deliver the final blow, Sarah intervenes, grabbing Flume and urgently telling her that Stud and her grandmother are still alive, injured, but not dead. Sarah insists there is no need for further killing. Sensing a moment of distraction, the captured culprit seizes his chance. He raises his knife and presses it against Flume's throat, seemingly convinced this will force her to beg for mercy. Instead, his desperate act only intensifies her anger. In a shocking display of defiance, Flume deliberately pushes her own throat further against the blade, demonstrating how insignificant his threat is against the cursed healing power of her reversal ability. Having asserted her dominance, she calmly retaliates by slitting his throat. The man dies, pleading for a miracle that never comes. Flume coldly remarks that watching him beg for his life felt strangely satisfying. Afterward, she places a hand on Sarah's shoulder and firmly states that people like those intruders cannot be saved. In her view, once someone has fallen that deeply into darkness, the only solution left is to end them. The episode continues with Flume immediately returning to Milk It after dealing with the two intruders who had broken into the house. Before stepping inside her room, she removes her blood-stained clothes, clearly not wanting Milk It to see the aftermath of the violence. To her immense relief, she finds that Milk It is physically unharmed. However, her torn clothing strongly suggests that the attacker had far more sinister intentions, a realization that leaves Flume shaken and on the verge of tears. Despite the danger she just faced, Milk It appears far less concerned about her own safety than about the damaged clothes. She explains that those garments had been a gift from Flume and held deep sentimental value for her. She laments that she had failed to protect them. Speaking with genuine sadness, this response overwhelms Flume emotionally. Fighting back tears, she firmly tells Milk It that clothes should be the last thing on her mind. Her life is what truly matters. Flume goes on to confess that she feels guilty for arriving too late, and even says that Milk It would have every right to be angry with her. She repeatedly emphasizes that their bond is not one of master and slave, but one of friendship. In a heartfelt promise, she vows to make Milk It as happy and cared for as possible from now on. Milk It admits that, although she still struggles with seeing herself as anything other than a servant, a small part of her had instinctively hoped Flume would come to save her when the attack happened. Elsewhere, Sarah, ever compassionate, decides that even the intruders deserve a proper burial and a prayer for their souls. Stud, however, argues that men capable of such acts are undeserving of dignity and death, and remarks that Sarah may simply be too pure-hearted for her own good. Sarah remains uncertain about whether she is doing the right thing, yet she ultimately chooses to proceed with a prayer, guided by her sense of empathy rather than judgment. The following day, Flume, Milk It, and Sarah begin their journey back to their hometown. During the trip, Sarah thoughtfully asks Flume when a person can truly be considered irreversibly evil. Flume responds gently, saying that Sarah does not need to force herself to find an answer immediately. She suggests that such understanding comes with experience and maturity, encouraging Sarah to keep reflecting on the question in her own time until she eventually reaches her own conclusion. Meanwhile, the heroes' party is shown growing increasingly agitated and frustrated after suffering several defeats at the hands of the demons. Realizing they are running low on resources, they decide to return to one of their previously secured locations to regroup and gather fresh supplies before continuing the fight. Cyril prepares to cast a teleportation spell by retrieving the magical stone required for the process. However, her shaken emotional state affects her focus, and she accidentally drops the stone. This small mistake immediately draws harsh criticism from Jean, widely regarded as the most abrasive member of the group. He sharply tells her to pull herself together, arguing that even with Flume, whom he describes as their biggest distraction, no longer part of the team, Cyril still fails to perform at full capacity. Cyril quietly apologizes, but Jean seems unwilling to drop the matter until another party member intervenes and firmly tells him to back off. With the tension momentarily diffused, Cyril successfully casts the spell, and the group teleports back to their intended city. Once there, the party disperses to handle their individual tasks. Maria and Linus, however, happen to be heading in the same direction and end up walking together. Their conversation soon turns to Flume, the former member of their group. Linus expresses the opinion that Flume's presence in the heroes' party was likely a mistake, even going so far as to suggest that not even divine selection is infallible, given her previously low stats and perceived weakness. He argues that she never truly belonged among them. Maria, however, strongly disagrees. She insists that Lord Origin's choices are never arbitrary, and that there must have been a purpose behind Flume Apricot joining the party. While that reason may not yet be clear, she believes time will eventually reveal the truth. The scene then shifts dramatically to the dinner table of the Demon Lord and her closest allies. During the meeting, the Demon Lord asks Nygas whether her investigation into the mysterious laboratory has yielded any useful information. Nygas reports that the site was an old experimental facility filled with evidence of extensive magical experimentation. She also notes that it once housed a powerful beast, one that Flume reportedly defeated single-handedly. To emphasize her point, Nygas produces one of the shattered core spheres Flume had destroyed. The demons present are stunned, struggling to reconcile this achievement with their previous encounters with the heroes' party, during which Flume had always seemed exceptionally weak. It becomes increasingly clear to them that she now wields some form of cursed power far more dangerous than anyone had anticipated. The meeting concludes on a serious note. Regardless of Flume's transformation or the heroes' activities, The Demon Lord makes it clear that their primary objective remains unchanged. Under no circumstances can any human be allowed to approach the sacred seal. After finally returning to town with the rare flower in hand, Flume heads straight to Lyke's residence, intending to deliver it so an antidote can be prepared for his wife. Sarah, however, chooses not to accompany her. It is explained that she anticipates Lyke, being a very wealthy man, will likely insist on offering some form of reward, and as a nun, she cannot bring herself to accept compensation for what she considers a moral duty. When Lyke later asks about Sarah's absence, Flume smoothly brushes the question aside, explaining that Sarah has important responsibilities at the church and therefore cannot attend. Accepting this, Lyke immediately sends a flower for verification. While Flume waits, another young woman enters the room and introduces herself as Welsie, a news reporter. She explains that she already knows of Flume, having once interviewed the hero's party, and says it is an honor to meet her again. Welsie begins asking where the Kialari flower was found, and whether anything unusual occurred during the search. She notes that the church has effectively banned medicinal flowers, labeling them forbidden and discouraging anyone from going near them. Flume briefly recalls the ordeal she endured to obtain the flower, but decides the details are not appropriate to discuss here. Instead, she simply states that she encountered nothing out of the ordinary. Their conversation continues, and Welsie openly states that her work as a reporter often involves investigating the church and exposing what she believes to be its hidden, darker side. She hints that there is far more to the institution than people realize. Eventually, pressing matters call her away, but she assures Flume they will stay in contact before leaving. Shortly afterward, the verification results arrive, confirming that the flower is indeed genuine. Lyke becomes visibly relieved and deeply grateful, insisting on repaying Flume in any way possible. Flume initially declines, saying no reward is necessary, but Lyke persists. Eventually, she reluctantly admits that she could use a safe hideout in the Western District, so she can continue living and working in the city. Lyke not only provides such a place, but also arranges safe transportation there. He does warn, however, that the property has not been used for some time and may be dusty. When Flume and Milk arrive, they're surprised to find the house spacious and unexpectedly clean, almost suspiciously so. This immediately puts Flume on guard, leading her to suspect someone else may already be staying there. That suspicion proves correct when Eterna suddenly appears. Eterna immediately notices a slave mark on Flume and demands to know who could have done something so cruel. Flume explains that Jean is responsible and that he claimed the rest of the hero's party had agreed to it. Eterna firmly denies this, stating that none of the party members had any idea Flume had been sold to a slave merchant. According to her, Jean only told him that Flume left of her own free will. This revelation brings clear relief to Flume, as she realizes the hero's party did not betray her after all. The deception was entirely Jean's doing. The atmosphere softens afterward, and they share a meal together. During the conversation, Eterna mentions that, using her herbal knowledge, she should be able to heal the scar on Milket's face, offering a hopeful step forward as they begin settling into this new chapter together.